need to ask you, have you read Ant Middleton's book about him in the minefield?
Yes.
As a bomb disposal guy, what was your thoughts on that?
To be honest, I can't really remember in depth about it, because I read actually both Foxy's book and Ant Middleton's more to learn about their resilience and how they dealt with and it's the one that, and actually Foxy's book I preferred more, and it was more the 1 meter square rule that stuck with me a little bit more. So I can't really remember that.
So I remembered it because I remember thinking, right, okay, as someone who's understood, I've got an interest in resilience, mindset, belief in yourself, visualizing outcomes, and even for me, the story in Ant Middleton's book was, right, mate, I don't know if this is a hold my beer moment, I'm going to show you how much I can visualize, or there's a little touch of delusion. And still today, I'm not entirely sure, but he recounted the time where there was essentially a minefield that was out in a patch. He had to get across, and he says to the guys, look, the minesweeper's taking too long, so they were exposed to fire. They needed to get across the ground quickly, and he says, I'm not going to blow up, and just crossed it.
I mean, from my experience, you certainly wouldn't do that. I mean, it was literally a case of crawling on the sand on your, like an army crawl, on your sort of hands and knees, and poking a little knife, like a metal detector as well. You would use obviously technology, but
Ant didn't need that.
No,
he doesn't need that.
Nah, strong will. Yeah, but put a little knife in.
Visualised it. He was just going right across.
Yeah. I mean, you can make up your own mind on that, I guess.
The jury's still out.
Yeah, the jury's still out. It's like in, do you remember the film Hurt Locker?
Yep.
And they found, and parts of that story, can relate to how bomb disposal experts were treated in Afghanistan and Iraq, is they would put a mine or bomb out in the open, so that would get called into us. We would go identify that, but you would have an ID sitting next to it that was undercover, and that's the one that would hurt you. So in this particular scene, I don't know if you remember that he found this I think it was a shell that was sitting out in the open, and he followed the wire and found out that it was all linked. So he grabbed the center and pulled them all out and pulled all the mines together, or all the shells together. I mean, you certainly wouldn't do that either, but it makes for a good movie, right?
I know that's the thing. Is I wonder how much of it's bravado for a bit of the atmosphere and to get people in the zone. I don't know in terms of reality. It's like visualizing your outcome is a strong tool to use. You've got to have it where you want to go. You need to have a clear picture in your mind. I'm not really sure I would draw that conclusion of crossing a minefield.
No, I mean,
maybe it works, but it's not something. I don't think I'm up to that level yet.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But even people's persona of the ID operator suit, that big padded suit and helmet, people think that.
Is that going to do anything? Really?
No, all that's designed to do is keep all your body parts together when you blow up. That's all it's designed
nice
to do.
You need that.
Yeah, of course, to identify you rather than picking you up from here, there, and everywhere. But I mean, that's not going to save your life. It's not like you say. It's just designed to keep your body parts together. Yeah.
Well, it's convenient. It's convenient. That's good.
Yeah.
That's nice. We've got his suit here. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah, but the amount of people that think that little suit's going to protect you from a blast is, well, you think again. Yeah.
It's like when you get the R&D department. I mean, when I look at these things, and I was fascinated at school with the science, particular penchant for chemistry. So I had a deep fascination into how things go together and understanding sort of component parts, and you just want to figure out how things work. And you look at something and it's like, I'm not really sure that's going to do what you think that's going to do. I don't think that's going to work. And you said that, if it was the R&D department, I'd be saying to them, well, you guys give that a try. If you want to trial it out, I'll watch.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
I wouldn't be jumping head on into see if your sums are correct.
Yeah. But well, luckily, like you say, we just used to. The only sums that we would maybe get wrong is if we thought a mine, a bomb was needing more explosive than it was, and it ended up giving us a bit of a shock. That I remember we actually. One particular incident actually was over in the Isle of Islay, and this British Mark 17 British Buoyant mine washed up on the beach, and so we went over. We get called by the farmer. We went over, and it was I can show you some pictures actually after, but it was an old rusty Mark 17 British Buoyant mine. Even the outer shell was pretty much all rusted off, but the explosive element of it was perfect. The fuse was all excellent. Everything would have definitely blown up. But the reason why it's not detonated since World War One, World War Two, is because part of that explosive train is went wrong. You know, it's either sort of corroded, and the thing with I don't know if you know much about explosive, but high explosive is low sensitivity. So you've maybe seen in some movies when you get plastic explosive and you roll it into a ball and you can play football with it, is because that high explosive is low sensitivity, and low explosive is high sensitivity. So to detonate that high explosive, you need a low explosive, so i.e. a detonator, which is high sensitivity. So when we're working with detonators, if I was to pass it to you, we have a thing that we say, I have the det. So it's to acknowledge that you're holding the detonator, in case, like, some people have, you know, your mouth's an extra, like, you use your mouth for everything, right? You put a screw in your mouth. Like, one guy put a detonator in his mouth because he wanted to work with something else. Well, half his face was gone about a couple of minutes after. But it's the same as everything else. So you have to acknowledge that you've got that det, so that you're very conscious, because it is super high sensitivity. So the reason that
so the detonator is low explosive, which is highly sensitive.
Yeah,
so not
exactly.
something you want to put in your mouth.
Not something you want to put in your mouth, exactly. So the reason why that British Buoyant mine didn't explode is because potentially the low explosive, high sensitivity part of it is maybe corroded, or it's failed in some particular way. So what we do is we just eliminate that part. We put plastic explosive on it, go to a safe area, press a button, and it explodes. So we got as far as we thought was far enough away. Up on a hill, we had the local farmer there, we had the local police officer there. The local police officer brought his child, which was this young kid, I can't, like, maybe 4 or 5. And then all of us were standing on this mountaintop looking down at this Mark 17 British Buoyant mine, and detonated it, and we had rocks flying over our head like missiles, and the police officers draped themselves over his kid to protect him, and yeah, you could just hear them like bullets like flying over your head. So that was interesting. So sometimes you get it wrong, and that's all to do with the math. But it made for a funny story and a good video at the end of the day as well. So
I hope they didn't realise your error in your ways.
They thought it was meant to be like that. Yeah,
and everyone's like that.
I think the farmer was just concerned a few rocks were maybe hitting his cows and killing his cows, but I think no cows were harmed in that.
It was probably better than having them down in the field.
Yeah, exactly. But it was definitely a fun time for me.
So the police officer, and the farmer, the police officer was pretty happy